Hola guys, welcome my amazing tribe to another episode of Bulletproof Mindset. And I am extremely excited to have our beautiful, strong, amazing guest today. And we're going to be talking about you are the miracle with mastering. Like I can't even tell you how incredibly honored I am to have Hazel Ortega here today. But let me tell you a little bit about Hazel. Hazel Ortega, who is open about coming from a rough childhood, tells her inspiring story on how she went from growing up poor, living in a rat infested household, in a dangerous gang neighborhood, living in food stamps, putting higher education on the back burner, to having higher education even in her late 20s, having a best selling book on Amazon, having several multi-million dollar businesses, flying in private jets, having more than enough quality time for her family. That is huge. Learning how having big goals, leveraging on the available opportunities, and surrounding yourself with good people can bring major changes in your life. Hazel Ortega is a leading expert and internationally recognized speaker who specializes in vocational rehabilitation for injured workers. She has worked alongside the California Labor and Workforce Development Agency and represents her chapter of the Entrepreneurs Organization before the United Nations as an advocate for substantive change both in her local community and around the world. Ms. Ortega has spoken nationally and internationally to more than 60 prestigious attendees, including the California Applicant Attorney Association, Action Coach Worldwide, Dream Business Academy, Women's Business Momentum Center, National Hispanic Association, and the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Agents. Hazel shares her journey and guides her audience through the formula she discovered. It's the exact steps she took to walk to the other side of fear, to master miracles in her life. And now she helps others do the same. And without any further ado, Ms. Hazel Ortega. Oh, that. yes. Hazel, I want to say welcome to our podcast today. And before we dive in, I want to first acknowledge you and shine some light on you and why I chose you to be part of the Bulletproof Mindset podcast today and talking about the miracle that you're worth that miracle. You're worth who you are inside. And the reason why I reached out to you and I wanted you to be part of the Bulletproof Mindset podcast is because you have one incredible story. You shine that light out from within out to others. You have this story that a lot of people can relate. A lot of our listeners, a lot of our young listeners that feel that they are stuck in their situation where either they be their environment, their settings, and they feel that they can't move on and forward. You are that role model. You are that voice. You're giving hope to so many to say, hey, it doesn't matter where you came from. It's what you have in here, and you can manifest that incredible and amazing life. I mean, you're an author, you have these businesses, and knowing where you came from, where you are, guys, this woman is absolutely amazing. And I cannot wait for you guys not only to capture her story, but to capture her heart and her mind. So, welcome today, Hazel. Thank you for joining me. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you're awesome. Thank you for that introduction. That was fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, let's start off over here with I first and foremost, guys, I have the book. Absolutely amazing. You guys have to get it. I mean, you don't want to put it down. And there's so many great, amazing stories in here, life's lessons, and so many takeaways. And she really does guide you as like what she went through and how she was able to overcome an overcomer, because you can overcome a lot of things.
That's
And I
right.
think it's super important to know our background and get to know where we came from in order to understand someone a little bit more, right? So can you take us back, bring us back into memory lane? Can you take us back to your childhood, where you came from, and paint us a picture a little bit of how you grew up?
Mhm. All right. Well, I'll take you way back
Let's
to
go, let's go.
my parents are immigrants from Mexico. And by the time I was born, they were already separated. My mom had already a daughter, and I was the second child of 7 siblings. From there, my mom married and divorced many times. And we lived in this 60-unit apartment building in one of the most poorest areas of Los Angeles. We were on welfare. There were, like what you said, there were gangs and there were drive-by shootings almost every night. When I was 12 years old, one of my best friends was stabbed with an ice pick and killed. And Elizabeth, what I remember the most about that is like nobody checked in on us and was like, are you okay? There was no counseling. There was no processing this. It was just like next, and next in the sense of like, well, who's next? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be my family? Like, who is next? Like, we lived under constant fear of dying, of being killed. And I can't even imagine my mom's angst about that, having to raise all these kids in this very poor neighborhood. By the time I was 19, my cousin was killed in a drive-by shooting. And then later, when I was 21, my mom was in a domestic violence situation where she shot and killed her boyfriend. A lot of violence growing up. Yeah, and a lot of incarceration. We didn't just have a legacy of poverty. We had a legacy of incarceration, of drug addiction. There was a lot of things to overcome in my neighborhood. And I'm not even going to tell you about the teen pregnancy stuff.
Yeah.
As Latinas, right? Like that's something also your parents are very fearful of.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was very rough growing up. And because of that, we weren't really focused on education. My mom didn't make sure that I was going to school every day. I was actually cutting school and not showing up. I did that all my high school years until my senior year. And I didn't end up graduating. I didn't get my high school diploma like all my friends. I didn't go off to college. It was just expected of me to get a job soon after, get married, and live the life that was meant for me, continuing to live in a life of poverty, of barely making it. And honestly, like I thought that was all right. Like that's just the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And like everybody else, you just live life and life happens to you. I wrote about how we settle in our lives and we don't even know it. We settle in how much money we want to make. Elizabeth, you have no idea how many people I ask, you want to be a millionaire, a billionaire? And they're like, oh, no, I don't want that.
They get scared.
Totally.
Like talking about money is a bad thing, right? Oh my God, I can relate to you in so many ways. As far as like the money situation, my mom would be like, I know, eso es mucho dinero, that's too much money. Or no, you're working too hard, right? But I've learned as my journey goes that money's not bad. Money's not evil. It's what we do with it. Money gives us options to give. And people are like, oh no, money can make you greedy. No, money will only enhance what you're already doing, who you already are. So if you're already greedy, when you have money, you're going to be greedy, and if you have more money or when you don't have so much money and you still give, when you do receive it, you give more, right? You're more generous and giving to foundations and whatnot. But man, I agree with you on that one. My mind has totally shifted when it comes to money. I'm like, yes, bring it so I can do more for my tribe, my people. I love what you were talking about, how you were growing up, the gangs and the ditching, because I did the same thing. I didn't like school. I tell my daughters, I was like, girls, I have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. I didn't like school. I did not like school. I ditched a lot. They would summons me out and I would go to the bleachers and hang out. Sorry, Mom, you're hearing this right now. But it's true. You're in
Yeah.
your environment and you don't know any better.
Yeah, well, for me, one of the reasons I ditched was because the neighborhood was so dangerous that our mom didn't let us play and be in sports. She didn't let us go to the beach with our friends, go to the movies. She was so strict. So we had to do the things we wanted to do. And we did it during the day when we were supposed to be at school. I went to the movies, I went to the mall, I went to the beach, I went to my friends' houses, all of those things. I went to ditching parties, and where when the parents are at work, they'll have a party and they put music and there'll be like 60 kids in the living room. That's the kind of stuff I did. And then in high school, of course, again, people's houses, listening to records. It wasn't like I was trying to do any bad stuff, any drugs or drinking. I just wanted to have some freedom, like all teenagers, right? We want to be free. And in school, you have all these rules, you have the bells ringing and all of that. And I wasn't having it. I was living the life. I would even get my nails done during the day.
I love that.
Get home with a new set of nails.
Like, what? You did not leave the house like this and you came out like that.
I told her we have a manicure class. I told her.
She believed you.
She wanted to believe me. So
she wanted to believe. She's like, okay, I'll go to your class for that. You said something also really important. You said we settle. We settle. Why do we settle?
Just like I told you right now, when I, tell people, even to this day, I tell people, like, what's your number? How much money do you want to make? And then they'll say it. And then I say, okay, add a 0. And they're like, you're what? That's crazy. No, and they get like that. And then also in our relationships, right? A lot of people are stuck in bad relationships. It doesn't have to be that way. They settle and they think that people are just the way they are and they're not going to change. But people do change. People get inspired and they do change. And if you change yourself first, people will change too. You don't have to change husband. You just need to change your ways, and then you can change your relationship. Or maybe at the end you will change husband. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever it means.
Yeah, but people are like very bored in their relationship. It's very like Groundhog Day. Like every day looks like the day before. I notice that a lot. Yeah, so we settle in relationships, even like relationships with our own siblings and our daughters and sons. We have a relationship maybe that's not so good, and we think that, oh well, they're teenagers and they're going to ignore me, and it's just the way it is. In reality, no. What do you want it to be? And then have that. But mostly we're just like, that's just the way it is. And that's not how I live anymore. That's what I notice now that a lot of people are still doing, and I used to do that. So your finances, your lifestyle, people are like, I'm good. And being good is the enemy of great. Like, okay, you're good, but what would great look like,
I like that. Being good, write that down, guys. Being good is the enemy of being great. It robs you from your greatness.
Totally. I always say this, that if you ask a tree, how much can you grow? The tree will say, as much as I can.
Yeah.
If you ask a person, they say, I'm good. I'm good.
That's a good one. That is so true. How do you think the environment plays, like where you live, where you're at, plays a huge part in moving on and moving forward?
Most definitely. I would think that's one of the top 3 things that changes your life, is changing your environment. My mom did that for us when we were growing up, because our neighborhood was so dangerous and impacted by crime. She had us bust out to a school that was not in our neighborhood. And also for some time, she had us living with an aunt that lived in a better neighborhood than ours. She sacrificed that. She wanted us to be with her. She wanted to raise us, but also the neighborhood was so dangerous. When she did change my school, I met different types of people. I actually had friends that went to college that were from that better neighborhood. Those are my friends today. Well, And then the other friends, I still have those other friends, but I've heard they're in jail. They have a lot of kids, and maybe they still live in that same situation. So my mom changed our environment. And then growing up, I was placed in a workers' compensation appeals board. It's a courthouse. I got a job there when I was a senior. They were recruiting at-risk kids, right? And so of course I was their poster child, at risk of becoming a criminal, becoming pregnant, getting on drugs, so many other things, right? So I got the job and they placed me there where I was exposed to lawyers and judges. So that environment was an upgrade for me, even though I still went back to my house after work to the bad neighborhood. Now I'm exposed to educated people and lawyers and judges, like I said, and I wasn't like in going through a trial, right? How would anybody like me be exposed to lawyers and judges unless I was in trouble?
Yeah.
So this was a great opportunity for me. So that was a different environment. And then from there, that judge that I was working for helped me find a job at a prestigious law firm. Then that was another upgrade for me because that's when I met the first Latino professional that I had ever seen. And he inspired me. He became a mentor. So that was another environment upgrade, right? And the environment where I lived was just, where I worked was just so beautiful. It wasn't a high-rise building. I was getting paid well. I was dressing enough for work. And then after that, I was injured on the job and I went back to school.
How old were you?
30.
Okay.
Well, I got my high school diploma at 30 years old. So that was another upgrade to my environment, right? Now I'm with students. I'm with people who are using education as their vehicle to success. Yeah. And so people always tell me, oh, you were a big fish in a small pond. Growing up, right? I said, no, a fish can't grow big in a small pond. I had to change my pond to grow.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
But I had to move. I jumped.
Totally. So, and it does look like almost overnight, like things changed for me, but in reality, you can track it to my childhood, to being placed at that job. Then, the pond changed, then education, different pond. And then now as a business owner, I joined a group for women business owners. I was amongst other women business owners up to the same thing. And then when my company hit $1 million, I joined another type of pond where it was people that were earning over $1 million. Now I'm hanging out with people that are like in excellence. They're in the zone. They're in the zone of whatever they're doing. They're either the speaking, they're writers, they're whatever their occupation is, it's at the top. So that is where I'm at right now, always changing and evolving. And also spiritual ponds. I'm with people that meditate for hours a day, and so now I'm getting I'm totally keeping on growing, and I think it's going to happen until the day I die.
I love everything you're saying. So, okay, I was like, oh, I'm trying to take in all this. A lot of the things that I'm doing as well, not only for the life coaching for my women, but life coaching for the teenagers. And I want our teenagers to listen up that it's never, ever too late to start something. It is never, ever too late to continue dreaming and envisioning and manifesting the life that you want. You said at 30, and you still continue to go from pond to pond and learning from those individuals, right? And you continue to go and go. And the circle of influence that you were around really did impact your life and where you were going, and you stayed laser focused. There is something that you said, there is no quit in me. And I'm going to lead into that because with your story, you're talking about, switching the pond to pond and growing and, making really good money and everything and being surrounded by some incredible people. You did not quit. It didn't matter. Like, you did not quit. What drove you to have that mindset, even from like a really young age, to say, I'm not a quitter? There is literally no quit in who I am. What got you to that place?
It was like no turning back. I did not want to go back to where I was. Every time I have a realization of like, oh, wow, I've come a long way. Like, you know, even finding out, like taking literature classes in college, like what, who is this person? Who is this poet? You know, I'm like, oh, if I hadn't taken this class, I would have never known who this person was. And so what I want to do is now fill myself with a lot of information. So I see, like, as I'm growing, I don't want to quit. One of the things that I talk a lot about is growing up, life happens to us, right? The biggest shock we're ever going to have is being born.
Oh, I like that. That's a big trauma. Yeah.
That's a big trauma, right?
That's a big trauma.
Then, you know, especially because depending where you believe you come from, you know, it's like,
yeah,
you're traumatized. Well, okay, so then your environment shapes you, your parents' opinions shape you, and what they start to do is put like layers on top of you, right? You're born golden and they put layers on top of you. And then as you discover yourself, you start to peel away those layers and you start to see gold again. And so where I'm at is like, I just want to keep on working on myself and keep on seeing the gold. The day I stop seeing the gold, I'll probably die, because it's just so motivating, inspiring. And I just love myself more and more every day. I never want to quit. I'm not going to say I didn't have, you know, the urges. Like when I was going to grad school, that was one of the hardest things I ever did. I did want to quit every single day I showed up. But what I thought about was like my family. How am I going to quit when my nieces are looking at me? What am I going to say to them at Christmas that, oh, I'm not in school anymore, right? Or my own kids, right? And the people in my life, I knew that I was standing for something. It wasn't just about me. So what's really important, Elizabeth, is to have a high vision and be doing it for something else, right? Because if I was doing it just for me at the time, I didn't value myself that much. So the fire under me was my kids, my family, and then the extended family, friends, and that's what was important. Now everybody in my family, they're all adults and everybody's good. So now it is about me. It is about me and about what my legacy is and what's important and what's the best life that I can have. And so now I'm like, I want to impact the world, which is why I wrote the book, why I'm here on the podcast with you. And that is what I'm doing and continuing to do. I'm shaping myself to be a world-class speaker and invited all across the world. And I'm never going to quit. This is too good. Developing myself and seeing the gold and then helping other people see their gold. Like, it's too good.
And you said something too, showing up, just to show up, because sometimes we feel so tapped out, so overwhelmed, right? Especially after this pandemic, that we just want to quit. But you just have to get up and show up. And every time you show up, you're choosing you. You're saying yes to you. And then you had your why. This huge why. Why am I grinding? Why am I hustling? What's my 4 a.m.? Kobe Bryant said that. What is your 4 a.m., right? And go get up in the morning, because that's what's going to keep you it's going to keep you hustling and grinding. You found your why, your kids. You said, I cannot give up on them. If I give up on me, I'm giving up on them. And no matter how you felt, even if you didn't want to be there, like, no, I don't want to be here in class, but you showed up.
Trust me. You know, my sister dropped out of law school, and before she dropped out, she said it's hard. And then I said, yes, and it sucks. Ask everybody in there. It does for everybody. It's not just for you. That's just the way it is. It's hard. It's different. It's challenging. It's, you know, contorting your brain in ways that you've never been challenged before. Yes. But the difference is, like, don't quit, keep showing up. And because I've done it, I've been there, is why I can share that story. It was really hard, especially, I'm telling you that I skipped most high school. Yeah. And when I was in school, I couldn't do homework at my house. It was an 800 square foot apartment. And there were, you know, 5 girls and mom and dad. And there was always some other sibling of my stepfather living with us. So many people in a very small apartment. I couldn't focus on my homework. So going to college and being in grad school was a lot harder for me than it was for a lot of other people because of my situation that I had. And so my background wasn't strong in English composition. And, you know, like, what are you doing in grad school writing like you're in the 8th grade, right?
Yeah. And
So
you're like, and now you have a book.
I know. So you imagine that. I would probably be voted like the most likely not to succeed in high school. And now this happened. It's a miracle for sure, Elizabeth, for sure.
I absolutely love that. And you're bringing a lot of hope to so many people out there, women, men, teenagers, the youth, that it doesn't matter where you came from, you can still have that drive, that will, that you're going to succeed. Have that vision manifested and you can create it. You can create it. You just have to hustle and grind. And it's not going to be an easy road. It's going to be right, emotionally, mentally, physically, all of that. You also said something that in your book, you said there's always a story there's always a story worse than yours, right? And I feel like a lot of us can think like, oh, woe is me, or we stay in that victim mentality, and you know, most of the battle isn't here, and we never know the battles that people are facing, right? So I think the words that we speak to ourselves can either inspire us or destroy us, right? And you can always think like, my story is the worst ever. No one can have it worse than I am. Explain a little bit more about what you said here. There's always a story worse than yours. And how were you able to get out of that mindset that I'm probably not the worst? There's probably something worse out there.
Yeah, well, okay, so at 36 years old, I became a psychologist. And I was still fist fighting with my sisters. Okay, my sister was a police officer. So psychologist and police officer fist fighting.
Oh my.
We fought at family functions. Our nieces would fight. Our siblings and people at the parties would fight. Super Bowl, watch out. There was going to be a fight at the party. Well, my life wasn't working. Clearly, I was fighting with my sisters. I was already divorced and many broken relationships. Something had to change, right? And I went to a personal development seminar to work on my life, to work on the issues that I had in my life. I couldn't be loving and communicative. I was angry and violent, and I was terrible at my finances. I was bouncing checks. So I go to this personal development seminar where people are going to the microphone and sharing their stories of why they can't have the life of their dreams. And one girl said that she saw her father being killed in live. She was sitting on his lap. She was 3 years old. Her cousin came into the party, shot and killed her father while she was sitting on his lap. And when I heard that story, I was like, that story is worse than mine. And I also thought like, well, that shouldn't really keep her from her dreams, you know, either. I didn't think it was a good enough story, but it was better than my story. And then, so then if she could still have her dreams, why can't I have dreams? And that's when I started to dream. I stopped using stories for why I can't have, like, why I'm not loving. Oh, because my mom didn't teach me how to love. No, if I'm not loving, it's because I'm not creating love, right? You could make love all day. Bringing water to somebody else, offering water, that's making love, right? Buying a gift, acknowledging somebody, calling your aunt, that's all loving acts. So I could be that, even though my mom didn't show that to me. Then bouncing checks. I used to say that I'm never going to be rich because my parents are poor, and I never saw my mom go to the bank. So those are all like stories that you tell yourself so that you don't take responsibility. But imagine if somebody would ask you, why are you not rich? Or why are you not in college? And you have absolutely no excuse, no reason. It actually gives you action. It motivates you. It's like, yeah, I could. Yeah, I could be in college right now. Actually, yeah, I could invest money. I don't have to spend the money on clothes and pretend like I'm a bad planner with money. You don't have any excuses. So that happened for me. I had no excuses anymore. And now it was all about creating what I wanted. And you know how you said earlier, like it's hard. It was hard for me before when I used to be in my headspace of like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But I've evolved my mindset, right? You're talking about bulletproof mindset, right? So you evolve your mindset and you get stronger, and then your mindset supports your dreams, right? It allows them to happen. And that's really important. And so I started to dream when I had the right mindset. And then now I created a vision for my life that looked like it was unrecognizable. People that grew up with me, my family and people that I know were like, what happened? What did you do?
I love this.
Yeah, people come to my house and like even the gardeners and the roofers, they come to the house and they're in awe. And then they see me, this Mexican girl that comes out and greets them in Spanish. And then they're like, can I ask you a question? Like, what do you do? How did you get here? And so I'm like, read my book. That's why I wrote it, because so many people like you asked me.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I do want to teach people, a lot of times people think that the current situation is going to be the current situation always. Ooh. So like for me, I'm not smart enough to graduate from high school. Well, I wasn't, maybe at the time when I was 18, I wasn't ready for that. But at 30, I was.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe at 18, I wasn't ready to say I was going to be a psychologist. But then at 36, I did become a psychologist. So we evolve. We're not, God forbid, yes, people do stay stagnant, they do stay stuck in the 1990s,
Yeah, stay there. They're choosing, right? The choice of what you want to do and where you want to go.
Wow, you would think it's a choice, but in reality, it is their reality. They feel stuck. Yeah. Yes, I know now with what I know that it's a choice, but most people make decisions, and decisions come from your brain, and your brain only makes decisions based on your past. So if you suck in the past, your brain is not going to make decisions based on, oh, you're the greatest thing that ever woke up this morning. It's not gonna, but your heart will choose something better for you always, but you have to learn to switch this off and turn this on, which is your heart. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Of course, like I said, I did personal development, and I just washed all of those sob stories that I had, all the past, stayed in the past now, and I'm forward thinking. So if we're in the past, we're backwards thinking, right? Where do we want to be? We want to be forward thinking. So that makes me make decisions about my life, right? Choices about my life. Yeah, choose how much money I want to make. Choose where what my lifestyle is going to be in the next 5 or 10 years. Always looking, like, let's just say I already live where most people, the dream would be, right? So now that I have this dream, what's my next dream? So my next dream is I want to, go and live in islands. I want to go to Italy, to the Amalfi Coast, and have, like a year there, and invite my closest friends and family to visit me. Stay on yachts, like, just keep inventing, and it's fun. So what if it doesn't happen? It's so much fun, and it gives me a reason to get up in the morning and be like really happy and living my best life, even if it's just in my own vision in my mind.
Yeah. And you know what? Oh man, what you just said, you choose. Even just saying that, oh, I get to choose this. I don't know if it's going to work out, but I'm going to choose to do it and see what comes of it. And then I'm going to choose to do this. When we change the perspective and how we say things, it just does something to the mindset. Like, oh, I get to own this. I get to choose to go this route. And if
it empowers you.
And it empowers you.
Yes, you have power. You choose. Otherwise, you're dating the guy that came up to you at the club just because nobody else came up to you. Like, he's the one that invited you to dance. And all of a sudden, you're dating this person. And it's like, did you choose this person? Is that who you actually wanted to be in a relationship with? And your person might even say, like, no, actually, no, this is not who I would have chosen.
Yeah, you're like, I wanted that guy over there that's really quiet that kept looking at me but didn't want to come and ask me. So true.
Yeah, so that happened to me. Okay, when I went to the personal development seminar, the person that I was dating, told me about this personal development seminar. And then when I went and I got over my sob stories and I realized that I never dreamt before, and I started to feel really good about myself and I was empowered. Yeah. When I left, I looked at him and I was like, why am I with this person? It didn't match anymore, because you know what they say, you date to your energy, right? And so you attract, right? You're a magnet. So the magnet, like a magnet is going to attract the same volume, right? Or smaller, but it's not going to make a car. If you have a small magnet, you're not going to make a car come and stick to it, right? No, it's going to be the same. So the same cannot be bigger. That's the same. So I was dating to my energy level, right? And once I improved, it was like within a month, I was already broken up with that guy.
You're like, I'm done.
Like,
this doesn't fit.
No, nice person for somebody else, but for me, like, I'm up to bigger things than that. You know, I mean, there's like, there's so many like lack of integrity in going on in people's lives, and I know what I want, and I want somebody with 100% integrity. And that's not, I don't settle anymore for anything less than that. And so all of these things, Elizabeth, and anybody who's watching, I got really clear on what I wanted. I got clear. I created a vision of what I wanted. What kind of man did I want? I wrote down 12 things that I wanted in my dream man. And then I looked at those 12 things and I said, oh, wow, do I have what it takes to date this man? Knowing the energy level, right, that I'm telling you about. I'm like, what? I know that I haven't met this person that I just created. So I went and I worked on myself. I took a dating 101 class. I read books on how to be adored, how to be loving, and I got over myself, right? And I ended up finding the love of my life. Then I wanted a $3 million plus corporation. At the time, I was making under 300,000 in the whole entire company a year. I said $3 million or more. And so what I did was I joined these women business organizations, and I learned tricks, you know, tips on how to grow my business, especially marketing and advertising, like that kind of thing. I also said that I wanted relationships with my sisters that looked like we're in heaven. And remember, I told you I was fist fighting with them.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So when we were in situations at family parties or on the phone, and you know, God bless them, they don't change, they're the same. But what changed is me. Like, I don't react to them in the same way. Then all of a sudden, they're what, you know, the prize that they got when they think they won on me, or they're, you know, they're right and I'm wrong, like all of that, like just didn't have the reward anymore for them, because I was like, okay, you're right. Okay. All right. Okay. I gave up my right to be right.
I like that.
Love and for having a life that works, you know. And so then that's one of the things that changed with my relationships. I wanted a life that looked like I was always on vacation. And so I created a vision for my company where it ran itself without me. And that's what I do for everything. So now, like, if I say I want something 10 years from now, okay, then I envision all of it and then reverse engineer. But it comes really easily. If I envision, just the way I envision the love of my life, I also envision the CEO that I need for my company so that they can run it without me, but using my vision. And then I create the vision, and then my phone rings and it's somebody telling me, Hazel, remember I'm the CEO from this other company? Well, I'm looking for a job and I want to work for you. Like, it just shows up easily. Yeah. Creating a vision is one of the most important things. So, you know, number one, I would tell you, is creating a vision. Number two is changing your environment. And then number three is celebrating. You have to celebrate your wins. Otherwise, you could feel like you're not being successful, no matter what age you are. Oh, I haven't graduated high school, or I didn't go to college. But it's like, okay, you didn't go to college, but you're not in jail, right? You're a good citizen, right? You look at the things that you are doing and celebrate that. And then those things, once you know that you have greatness in you, you build on that. You build on that. And guess what? Next year, you're going to be celebrating that maybe you did go back to school, right? And maybe you did finish some classes, right? And now you're reading books. Now you have a different set of friends. They're students, whatever. You celebrate things going along, because I'll tell you something, Elizabeth. I went to Mount Everest, okay?
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so imagine that, a girl from Walford being at the top of Mount Everest.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, it's like a dream come true, an impossible thing, right? It would take a miracle to think that that could happen. Well, I'm at the top of Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. And guess what you see when you're at the top of Mount Everest?
Well, what did you see?
More mountains to climb.
More mountains to climb. You're like, oh boy.
So with that said, if all I want to do is hike Mount Everest or get to the top of Mount Everest, then just even just getting to Nepal is a long flight and it takes money, right? So you celebrate that, but if and you celebrate along the way, what got me to be able to go to Nepal, what got me to be able to go to Kathmandu, which is the next airport, and then what got me to the top of Mount Everest. So celebrate along the way. And that means even way back, right? Having to sign up for class, finishing that class. Those are all little celebrations. Otherwise, you feel like you never make it. Like you're losing instead of winning. And every step that we take, we're winning. We're one step closer, one step closer. We're in a different place than we were yesterday if we're taking one step closer. Those little things, they add up and they add to our self-esteem. And that and our mindset evolves, right? Our self-esteem, our mindset. And honestly, I love what you're doing with this bulletproof mindset, because your mindset is what gives you so they're beliefs, right? They're a set of beliefs about yourself. So your mindset is what gives you like the say so about what you say yes to and what you say.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your mindset. So developing a really strong mindset and knowing that your mindset evolves. So wherever you are now is definitely not where you're going to be in the future. So just keep on evolving, keep on learning, but be present to yourself, right? Like everything is within us. How great I am, I get to tell myself, right? I'm a witness to my own life. I know what I do. Not everybody else does. I know what I did this morning. And honestly, like I made a fantastic, healthy breakfast.
Yes, that makes me happy.
Very healthy breakfast. And so I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. I'm a good cook, healthy, good cook. So for today, this morning, I feel good. I started off the day good. So now I'm adding self-esteem chips to myself, right? And then now I'm like, okay, well, I know I can cook a healthy meal. So anyhow, you need to know yourself and how badass you are. So for me now, Elizabeth, like I'm automatically doing these things is by default. Like I don't have to stop and make a list of why I'm so great. But for those that are just getting started, yes, remind yourself how great you are. Otherwise, your brain is going to tell you how not great you are. It's going to tell you that you're not that nice of a person because it knows that you don't throw the trash away right away. You leave it on the countertop for 2 or 3 days. It knows whatever bad thing, bad habit that you have, it knows it and it reminds you that you're not that great. So you need to start making your own list intentionally of what makes you great. And honestly, we're alive and we're human and we are great. There's lots of things that we do, picking up the phone, calling our aunt, going to work and hustling and paying your rent and being responsible. If you have a kid, taking care of your kid, like those are the things that make us amazing. Being a mom, come on.
Yeah.
Nursing a baby and at the first year, what it takes to get through that alone gives us all a cape.
That is right. Hey.
But you have to tell yourself that. Otherwise, your brain is going to be like, yeah, but you dropped the baby one time. Do you remember that? You're not that great.
Damn, it wasn't that great. Like, what? It's true. You know what? And I tell my students this all the time on the lies, right? Because our mind can constantly tell us that. I call it our inner roommate, our little inner annoying roommate in our brain that constantly is like chatting, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you're not right. So I tell them, when you get these lies, these limiting beliefs that come into your mindset, I want you to stop. And I want you to fact check your thoughts. Like, what do you mean? Yeah. So if something is telling you you're not a good mom, okay, I want you to stop and think, well, I am a good mom. My kids have a roof over their head. They have food. I give them love. I do this. I do that. Fact check it. And then that lie goes away. And another thing, I'm not smart enough. We'll fact check that. Well, I passed my class with an A or a B. I'm taking new development classes. I'm writing. I'm helping my daughters with homework. Lie goes away. It's fact checking that, right? Because, like I said in the beginning, man, words can either inspire us or destroy us, and can sabotage so many amazing things that we want to do from our greatness if we allow those lies to stick in our mind. And it's something that you said and you continue saying, and I love it. It's creating, manifesting what you want. And when you wrote everything down, and because you're so aligned, like your energy, I could get it, and you just centered and aligned. And when you want something, you write it, and you, this is what I'm creating, and this is what I'm gonna get. And then you get the phone call, the CEO. Oh, what, did someone hear that I needed the CEO? Did someone read my paper? Right?
Yes, it's exactly like that. So, you're talking about mindset, right? What I talk about also similar to yours is I call it the miracle mindset.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more about that.
When I created my vision for my life, remember I told you your brain tells you like, you can't do that. You don't even get up before 8 o'clock in the morning. You can't even run 3 miles. How are you going to do a 21 mile marathon? And then you shrink, you get small. So what I did is I asked myself, well, I believe in God and I believe in miracles. What is possible for me? Because if I ask what is possible for me, and it was back then when my self-esteem wasn't at where it is now, what is possible for me, it would be really small things, or like, oh, there occur like goals, and then the goal is scary. So then it gets small, right? Because your brain starts to have bells and whistles that says, oh my God, Hazel has never ran more than 3 miles. Why is she saying 21 miles marathon? And then what will happen is then I'll turn to my friend and say like, you know what, Nan, I think maybe a 5K would be better than the 21 mile, you get small. But if it's up to a miracle, then it stays alive. That dream stays alive because our brain is not programmed to make a miracle happen. Right? But if I give it a goal, immediately it's going to be like, okay, I start calculating how this is going to happen. And then it starts like getting scared and it gets smaller because you don't have that much money in the bank. You can't run more than 3 miles, and so it makes it shrink or even die. But a miracle, your brain will allow you to have that goal and vision because it's not responsible for making it happen. And then once your miracle vision is created, that becomes your compass for your every day. So if I say in 5 years, I want to meet the love of my life, then today I'm reading a book about how to be in a relationship. And then how, if I want to be a millionaire in 5 years, then today I'm learning financial budgeting. I'm learning something about finances. If I want to get along with my family, then I'm not fighting with my family today. So it gives you, your vision gives you your today. And that's why I love it. One of the things I wanted to gift you, Elizabeth, and everybody that's going to listen, I have a free download on my website. It's a 4-minute, it's a 4-minute guided visioning exercise where I talk to you and I ask you questions about where do you see yourself.
I saw you guys. Are you guys excited? Because I am, guys. So stoked.
That's exactly what I did and how I changed my life. It was by creating a miracle vision. Like a miracle, like if you believe in God and miracles, then you're going to create something like you're going to go to the moon. You're going to create something so big, and that's really exciting. And you very often will get it. So this is a free vision guide, and you can get it at themasteryofmiracles.com. And it even has downloadable worksheets where you can fill in the answers to the questions. And for me, if you want to take it, you want to have extra credit, draw all the things that you said you saw yourself have in 10 years. Draw it. And that's what I did. And right now, whoever comes to my house will see a picture frame in my dining room. And I drew my life, and I have everything that's on that drawing. And it was a miracle vision. So you could just imagine. This is fantastic.
God, I thank you for that. I know I'm extremely excited, and I can only imagine our listeners, because when we put pen to paper and we draw, we actually really do manifest. This is something that I've done before. And it's funny you say about the drawing, because I have a drawing from like 3 years ago that I did the same thing when I first opened my studio. And I said, I'm going to be the CEO. I'm going to open my studio. And then boom, it happened. And Hazel, I saw this picture in this Building Bodies University CEO for a year, and I worked toward it. And the second thing, I had another thing, and I was like, I'm going to do corporate wellness. And I saw it for about 6 months, and boom, it happened. So guys, it works. You guys have to do this. I am going to do this guided meditation from you, and then I'm going to call you and be like, it's working. Because it does.
Yes, please do stay in touch. I love to hear testimonials. They really make my day. I feel like whenever I get a testimonial, people write to me from all over the world, and they tell me that first that the book changed their life, and then that exercise, they said things were going to happen in 10 years, and they were happening a lot sooner than that, and their life was already changing. I love to get those types of emails, people writing to me.
I love that. Well, I'll be one of them, and I hope a lot of our listeners, our tribe, do the same thing with you. And I'll make sure to write all that good stuff on the show notes so that you guys can go on there and get that free download as well. Okay, because I want to honor your time, and it's valuable to me. So we'll wrap it up here. But can you give our listeners either 3 tips on how they can limit those doubts and those fears when they're coming into their minds? What are 3 tips you can give when those lies are coming into their mindset or those fears are creeping in? What are 3 things that can get them away from that?
Don't stay in a negative funk. If you're feeling depressed or sad, or you're telling yourself these things, move, like change the channel, basically.
Ooh. Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who knows that every year on the anniversary of her mom's death, she's going to take a week off because she's going to be so sad that week. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you program yourself to be sad for a week, 1 day a year? Like, I already even forgot the anniversary of when my mom died. Like, my mom doesn't want me to be sad. You know, my mom used to tell me, change the channel. Like, don't sulk. Yeah. Don't stay there. Do not stay in those conversations with your brain. You know, your brain has 90,000 thoughts, and most of them are a waste of time. And they're mostly, you know, past thoughts that it's recycling of all the mistakes you've ever made. So it's not even real. So just stop it, change the channel, go watch TV, jump up and down, call a friend, do something different, read a book, stop being in your head. You can't control your thoughts. You absolutely can't control your thoughts. So by changing your thoughts in the moment, change it. And then before you know it, you're automatically switching. You're not staying there in that spot where I don't hear negative thoughts anymore in my head like I used to, you know, because it sounds like it's a really big Rottweiler, right? And then after you control your thoughts, it's like a little teacup Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
And you're like, oh, that's interesting. You have something to say. That's interesting. Okay, you know. Yes. And I was 30 when I said that, and I didn't even have my high school diploma. And she looked at me and she was like, you're gonna be a millionaire? And then I was like, you know, first of all, I was just having fun, you know, saying that. And then when she told me that, I was like, you know, why not? Like, why not? And I started to think about it, like, wow, that, you know. So watch out who you share your dream with. If I had been anybody else and I didn't have a strong environment and self-esteem, that could have killed my dream. Like, oh, she doesn't believe that I could be a millionaire. Maybe I cannot be a millionaire. So be careful who you tell your dreams. Definitely tell your dreams to someone. Find your group of people that will celebrate you, that'll be your cheerleaders. I mean, it could be you, Elizabeth. I'm pretty sure anybody could tell you anything, and you're the biggest cheerleader for them.
Yes.
Right. And then again, start, you know, affirmations. If you feel like your self-esteem is not high, write affirmations. Fake it till you make it. That's my one of my mottos that I love. My dad taught me that. He's like, fake it till you make it. Do that. Just write down your affirmations, which are like what you know, I am a millionaire. I am a millionaire of time. I am a millionaire of love. I'm a millionaire. Write down all the ways you're a millionaire. and get your brain familiar with that wording, with how great you are. And that'll begin to get your self-esteem up and then get you a really good bulletproof mindset.
Ah, I love it. You see how she did that? She drew it in. Well, to finish that up, because you kind of did say it, but what is your definition of a bulletproof mindset?
For me, it's the miracle mindset, using miracles and leveraging that superpower. Really dreaming big, having a really big intention starts with having a miracle mindset.
I love it.
Larger impact.
Well, you heard it right here. Miracle mindset. It starts up in your mind. It begins and ends in here. So if our listeners, Hazel, want to get in contact with you or stay connected with you, where can they find you?
They can go to my website, themasteryofmiracles.com. Once you enter your email, then you'll start getting some information about me through your emails. And I believe you're going to want to hear more miracle stories and get inspired. And then also Instagram, Hazel Ortega Official.
Wonderful, beautiful. Guys, thank you for showing up today. Thank you for listening to this incredible, amazing, powerful, beautiful woman today. If you heard something, a takeaway, please, we want to know who's listening. We want to know who we are impacting. Tag us, take a picture of what you liked, and tag us on social media. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and don't forget, it all begins and ends up here. Hazel, again, thank you. It was a pleasure to have you here with us today. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing out in the world. I appreciate you for that.
Thank you so much.